I said, well, why don't you do it? And they created that. And now it's all over the nation. People are using that activity in their schools. And you can do all sorts of creative things with that too, right? You can put units in there and famous people and history. You could really use it instructionally so that you can have debates about, well, why this one and not that one, right? So again, student generated. Student generated. I want you to think, again, it's a partnership with kids. And that's what I really want you to lead with, is building a partnership, okay? I want to read a story from Rodney. Check this out. This is heavy duty. My father died a couple of weeks ago. I've been going to this school since 6th grade. I never met my counselor until 2 weeks ago. She wanted to check in with me because my dad died and my mom called to see if I could talk to someone. I don't want to talk to a stranger. I mean no disrespect to my counselor, but I don't know anything about her. Sure, I know what she looks like because I've been here for so long, but not even a hello. Not sure if she would know my name if I walked by her. And if my mom hadn't called, she never would have known that my dad died anyway. I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but why does something big have to happen in my life for my counselor to chat with me? Wow. That is heavy-duty stuff. But in this school in Missouri, where this story was generated from, by the way, we use pseudonyms so we protect the privacy of the children. This was sent to the principal. This spearheaded an advisory mentorship program with staff and counselors, and even had a counselor be added to the school so the caseloads would decrease, so they could have more one-to-one contact with their kids. All because of one story. All because of one student who wanted to share how he felt. And why? Just because we asked him. We just asked him. Yeah? You with me? Mm-hmm. All right, let's get the juices flowing. I want to share with you a couple of quick things about the Student Voice Project. This actually began as a movement back in 2007. And the movement has grown so large. We have a website, and people join the website to join the movement. And we share stories with one another about the things that they're including kids about, okay? It's pretty simple, right? How do you talk to kids to get them to really open up and not clam up or run away? You talk to kids by going on their turf. So this project movement had to do with going to where their turf was. Not a principal's office with filing cabinets and a tall chair and feeling that the institution isn't the place they really want to open up. It was the playground. It was after school at sports events. It was all sorts of places that are the kids' turf. And Rebecca and I went around and we showed other people about how to approach going to kids on their turf to get them to speak up about how we can change school together, okay? So that's the project and the movement, and really what it does is it starts to attack all of these social, emotional issues that we know go on in our schools, and sometimes we just don't know much about a child until we hear more from that child, right? But you know this. Our kids come with so much stuff, it blows my mind, you know. I have students in the fruit belt of the city of Buffalo. The fruit belt has streets named after fruit. Each one is Cherry Street, right? They get shot at every day. They get shot at, let me say that again, they get shot at every day. There's at least crossfire in that neighborhood every day. I cannot possibly imagine what that feels like, right? And when we get students as partners in school, and they feel like they're going to school to create something big with you, they love you even more than they already do. Right? Our students with disabilities, the adversity that they face in their lives, the trauma, the poverty they come from, right? They don't want to feel that way. These are amazing images that you can even use to just even share with your class. and be like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this? What do you feel about this? And wait till you hear what they say. It's just amazing. We believe that student voice is the elbow grease that will change schools across the nation. There are many schools that Rebecca and I visit. They are adult-directed. They are adult-driven. Some of that has to do with ego. Some of that has to do with being scared about what might happen. And I'm going to go into that a little bit. It's not Lord of the Flies, right? It's not like handing the keys over to the students and saying, okay, run the school, right? It's nothing like that. It's how do you create that partnership, okay? I'm going to look at this. Wait till you see these statistics. So this came from NAESP, and look at the amount of students that they canvassed for a survey about student voice and their perception of it, right? They believe that when they are asked and involved, that the school will be a better place and that the school will go off the map. Look at that. Look at the grade levels. It dies down a little bit at the high school level. It's super high at the elementary level. But we found that student voice activation was more prevalent in the primary grades and the intermediate grades. And it matches this data. It's very interesting. And when you share this with your students, show them this. Like, hey, what do you think about this? That engages them immediately to feel like they don't want to be one of these statistics either, right? Look at this. Not even half. That's a below 65. That's an F grade for our schools across the nation. Look at this. Wow. Throw that up on the board for your kids, See what they think. Look at this. Only 55. These are all failing grades. They're all failing. Now, watch this. Academically motivated, 7 times more likely. Right? They create that warm-up activity that you participated in. That class rock and rolled that day. They created the anticipatory set. Their involvement, right? It wasn't like, well, I'll take care of that activity and I'll present it to you. And no, they created it. Self-worth, 4 times more linked to the school, feeling that they are being valued. 8 times the engagement. 9 times to feel a purpose. They wake up in the morning and they go to a school that they feel there's a purpose. Yeah! I feel, wow, 9 times. It's a passport to democracy, isn't it? That's what student voice is. It's democracy. All right, real quick, here's what it's not. All right, no, students are not allowed to have confidential information about others or you. We know that. But they need to hear that and be reminded of that, right? Well, why can't we be part of this student voice? But no, relax. Confidential, we can't share that with you, that's why. Oh, okay. You have to explain that to them, right? And again, it's not Lord of the Flies. It's not handing the keys over. It's not diminishing your power as an educator. It's creating partnership. Okay? All right, here's something else that was created by my students. Who is the most popular chef? This was an icebreaker for an activity about ethnic foods in some of our European countries. Who's the most popular? Raise your hand if you think it's Ramsay. Oh, so we're going to have a split room here, right? Well, you're all wrong. That is the most popular chef on the planet. And you know what's funny is, oh yeah, he's not just, this guy, look at his hat. He is the chef. Again, when students create these things, I couldn't have come up with that. That was a great icebreaker into then the ethnic foods that we studied in European, right? It's created by them. Problem though is sometimes ego gets in the way. And part of a workshop that Rebecca and I do, it's actually centered just on adult ego. Not that you have an ego, but can you think in your mind right now of someone that you know in your building who has an ego? I get usually... She's just messing with you. You're a great guy. She's just messing with you. Right? But can you think of one? Can you at least think of one? Some schools have a lot, right? I'd like you to talk to someone next to you about this question. What are your students sharing with you right now? Go ahead, 2 minutes. Hit it. What are they sharing with you right now?
Climate, the news, climate, which is happening. Not traumatic stuff. I would. Yeah, so their experiences are different.
Who has one they can share with the entire group? What's something that your students are sharing with you to make your classroom or your school a better place? What's just one thing? What's a hot topic? Is it curriculum?
Be kind is a huge thing.
Kindness?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Social and emotional learning and student involvement.
Excellent. Excellent. Did they talk to you about how to make your lesson plans better? Why not? That's good. I like it. Yes, sir.
They might. I find that they might. And what I'm saying is that they don't necessarily, I don't have a whole lot of students coming up and saying, Mr. Williams, here's how to improve your lesson plans. But I teach a mass communication class, and they will talk to us about news and current events and ask questions about maybe why we're not covering that, et cetera, et cetera. And I find that in a lot of my classes, the student will bring up news or other information, not necessarily under the guise of add this to your lesson plan, but hey, consider this and move forward. I'll ask them, I'll talk about it.
We have a school that implemented a student voice leadership team. So in every class, every single class, there's a student leader. They get out the chart paper and they actually facilitate 3 questions. How do you think class went today? What are some things we can do better? And they're literally jotting them down, right? And what can we do for our next lesson or our next unit that will help our teacher to give us some things that relate to our life? And they jot it down. Tear the sheet of paper, right? Hanging on the wall. It's there for the teacher. The teacher sits in back.